Yo, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another MLB trade rumor. We're talking about Pablo Lopez again. I think this is like the third or fourth time in the last month that we've talked about Pablo Lopez, but he continues to find different teams that are interested in him. And honestly, I think you could just sum up this whole video as in every single team wants him. But which team will be lucky enough to land him, I think is the real question. So, this is interesting. I think this just broke today, by the way, on the 16th of January, a couple of hours ago, if even that. So, it was reported by Ken Rosenthal that the Marlins and the Cardinals are in on at least preliminary trade discussions. Obviously, the trade is centered around Pablo Lopez, and honestly, this kind of makes sense. So, before I go into why, let me know what you guys think about what I'm going to say, or if you have pre-biased thoughts or, things that you want to get in the comments, let me know because I love reading those and responding. So let's talk about this potential trade with Pablo Lopez and the Cardinals. Right now, it looks like the Cardinals are in need of two things. One, to get rid of all of their outfielders and to hype up that pitching staff a little bit more. So obviously with the big man, Adam Wainwright leaving. Also, you've got Miles. He's getting a little older. I don't know where you really would put Lopez in terms of like an ace or 1 or 2 or 3. He's definitely a good pitcher and would help this rotation. But you've got two older guys now, couple of young flamethrowers. This is a good fit for that rotation. Like, he does fit in this rotation, whether or not it's at the beginning or closer to the end. This could be one of the most dominant starting pitching rotations, maybe outside of like the Mets in baseball, if this happens, if all of these guys stay healthy. So that's number one. Big point number one, that Lopez would help this rotation immensely. The second part of this is that they have a lot of outfielders, and they don't really have places to put them, right? Lars Nootbaar and Dylan Carlson are the two big names that are potential givebacks for Lopez. And honestly, you could probably go straight up with either of them. I think there would be more included in the package, but from a pure trade value standpoint, if you go to baseballtradevalues.com, which again isn't perfect, but it kind of gives you a ballpark at least. The Marlins getting Nootbaar at 24 years old, 5 years of control, an AAV, or sorry, not an AAV, an MTV of 39.8. The Cardinals would be getting Lopez, which has 2 years of control, and an MTV of 38.8. So very, very close. It looks like that could be possibly like straight up 1-for-1. But again, like, you're looking at the Cardinals, who, if they're going to get rid of, a pretty good and up-and-coming outfielder, they're probably going to want somebody back. Of course, the Marlins giving up a pitcher, probably going to want somebody back. I'm sure there'd be some minor leaguers in there that might fluctuate that value a little bit. But really, 1-for-1, it kind of makes sense, at least at the surface level. It looks like Cardinals fans are less happy about this specific trade for Nootbaar than Lopez. But again, that's why I ask you. The other guy on the table was Dylan Carlson, who has an MTV of 50. So this is a little bit more than the Marlins in Lopez would be able to give. They'd probably have to give somebody else. And again, you're looking at a very young outfielder with 4 years of control. That's pretty darn good. And again, if you are the Cardinals, I think it looks like Cardinals fans are the people who are unhappy about this because they don't want to give up their star outfielders, but you're getting a solid pitcher. I don't know how many times I have to go through the stats on these guys, but Pablo Lopez, again, he threw 180 innings last year with a 3 WAR. The win-loss record was even on the Marlins, started almost every single game. The whip of 1.16. He is a guy who at least will be number 2 on a team. And I think if you are the Cardinals, you're looking at your roster and pitching rotation, that's somebody I think who would help you out immensely, like I was saying. Now, what you're giving up, again, is, a lot of young talent who's done pretty well. We'll start with Carlson. Carlson had 2 WAR last year. He had a 100 OPS plus, right on average, with 8 home runs, 42 RBI, and a 236 average in 128 games. He was in the Rookie of the Year conversation in 2021. He's definitely a guy who's going to grow into his numbers a little bit. Did have a down year in comparison, but also didn't play in as many games. So, of course, you're looking at a talented 23-year-old, gosh, he's as old as I am, in the major leagues, who has already had 3 years now of experience. That is pretty good. And I think that is, I would make the trade. Like I said, I think that you are looking at a guy who you need in your starting rotation, and you should give up anything for it that is reasonable. And again, giving up a 1-for-1 trade, especially a guy like Carlson, where I think you've got extra guys, right? I mean, he can bat switch hitting. Maybe that's why you like him. I don't know, but that's a valuable player for the Marlins too, if you're looking at it from the Marlins perspective. You've got a ton of pitchers. Go out and get a guy like Carlson who's young and develop your outfield until the guys come up a little bit more. That's my pizza. So let's wrap this thing up. But Lars Nootbaar, he is, again, we'll go over his stats right here. He was a pretty good player last year, 2.2 WAR in his second season, his first, I guess, full season. Not really. He played in over 100 games, didn't, a lot more than he did the year before. 14 home runs, 40 RBI, and a 126 OPS plus. That average, again, at 228. So pretty similar players. He's a lefty. Maybe that's why you want to keep Carlson. He's also a year younger. But I think that either one of these guys, if you lost them, they might make a small impact on the Cardinals because of what you're trying to do there and who you're trying to build around. But I think if you go and get Pablo Lopez, your problems become less pitching heavy, right? You have a solid team behind you, and I don't have the roster pulled up, but you've got Mr. Third Baseman, Nolan Arenado. You've got Paul Goldschmidt. You've got talent all around the diamond, even with Molina. Or Molina's coming back, isn't he? Or no, that's Wainwright. Sorry, my bad. But yeah, Molina, you're losing a piece there, but he wasn't really offense. So you're keeping your offensive core there. Pujols, I mean, okay, he went on a hot streak, but again, you're not losing a ton of offensive power by losing somebody who bats .230 with double-digit home runs. Almost anybody can do that, and I know that these guys are young, and they have a lot of potential, and, maybe you play some matchups with left-handed pitching or switch-hitting pitching, but that's pretty good to get a solid pitcher from the Cardinals' perspective. And again, I've mostly been talking about the Cardinals' perspective because I think this is a pretty good trade for them. I think for the Marlins, too, they have so much pitching. They have outfielders who, I guess they traded several of them in the last offseason that were supposed to become up-and-comers. They could definitely use some help out there, especially on the younger side of things, with lots and lots of control. So I think it's a good deal. I really do. And like I said, you maybe throw a couple of mismatch parts in there to flush out where you need to go with pitching or outfield because you're swapping them. But almost 1-for-1 makes sense. And maybe you guys agree, maybe you guys don't. That's why, again, I posed the question to you and I asked you to comment because I love seeing what you guys think. If I'm crazy, if MLB reporting is crazy, or if these are possible good trades based on your thoughts and trade values. So thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you did enjoy, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.